In a world that's constantly screaming for attention, there's something incredibly powerful about staying silent and letting your actions speak louder than your words. We live in times where likes, followers, and viral moments are considered success. But let me tell you something. I've learned that true success doesn't come from shouting the loudest. It comes from knowing who you are even when nobody's clapping. That's quiet confidence, and that is the real key to success. I've walked into rooms where I wasn't the prettiest, the most talented, or even the most qualified, but I walked in like I belonged there, not because I was faking it, but because deep down I believed that my presence mattered. And that belief, that's quiet confidence. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself. It's not cocky, it's not loud, it's calm, it's collected, and it's rooted in knowing your worth, whether anyone else sees it or not. Quiet confidence is not about being passive. It's not about shrinking. No, it's about rise. Gracefully, it's the fire in your eyes when someone doubts you. It's the calm in your voice when others panic. It's choosing to let your hustle make the noise while you stay focused, grounded, and unapologetically ambitious. I've had people underestimate me, label me, even try to define me, but I never allowed their words to dictate my worth. I didn't need to defend myself. I just needed to keep moving forward. That's what quiet confidence does. It frees you from seeking approval. You don't need to prove anything to anyone who doesn't already see your value. You're not here to compete with noise. You're here to create impact. Confidence is not a show. It's a state of mind, and when it's quiet, it becomes unshakable. Because when you trust yourself, when you trust your process, when you trust your purpose, you don't get shaken by opinions, setbacks, or silence. Look, being confident doesn't mean you'll always get it right. But it does mean you'll get back up with grace every time you fall. It means you'll dare to dream bigger, love harder, and own your space without needing to dominate it. So here's my message to you. Don't be afraid to be the calm in the storm. Don't be afraid to walk into rooms without shouting your resume. Don't be afraid to be silent and unstoppable. Success isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a woman walking confidently in the direction of her dreams, with her head held high and her spirit whispering, "Watch me." In a world dominated by noise, social media likes, flashy accomplishments, and constant self-promotion, many people have come to believe that loudness equals confidence. But that's a dangerous misconception. True confidence doesn't scream, it whispers. It's not about how many people hear you. It's about how deeply you believe in yourself when no one is looking. Quiet confidence is rooted in something much deeper than surface-level validation. It doesn't rely on applause or acknowledgement. It thrives even in silence. It's that calm inner voice that says, "I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it to anyone." That's where true power lies. There's a subtlety to quiet confidence that makes it even more magnetic. You don't have to walk into a room announcing your worth. You simply carry it with you, and others can feel it without you saying a word. It's not about being shy or reserved. It's about being grounded in your identity, secure in your skills, and committed to your purpose, whether or not the spotlight is on you. This kind of confidence doesn't fade when someone questions your abilities or overlooks your talent. Instead, it remains steady because it wasn't built on approval in the first place. Priyanka Chopra's life itself is a perfect example of this. She's walked into industries where people tried to define her, confine her, and reduce her to labels. But she didn't need to fight with noise. She rose with quiet confidence. She believed in her journey before the world even noticed her path. That's the beauty of believing in yourself. You don't wait for permission, and you don't crumble when recognition is delayed. The danger of noisy confidence is that it depends on constant attention to survive. But quiet confidence, it's self-sustaining, it grows in silence. It doesn't panic when things don't go as planned. It's what keeps you moving forward when people doubt you or when success seems far away. Because you don't need the world to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. When you embrace quiet confidence, you unlock a different level of freedom. You stop chasing validation and start living with purpose. You don't get distracted by applause or discouraged by silence. You know your worth, and that knowledge alone fuels your journey. Quiet confidence doesn't beg to be seen. It commands respect simply by existing. And in a world that's always shouting, sometimes the most powerful voice is the one that doesn't need to raise itself at all. There's a powerful shift that happens when you realize success is not about putting on a performance. It's about owning your presence. Too often, people think they have to be the loudest, the most entertaining, or the most impressive in the room to be seen or valued. But the truth is, you don't have to overcompensate when you know who you are. Presence doesn't require theatrics. It requires authenticity. When you walk into a space with quiet confidence, you carry an invisible strength. You don't need to announce your achievements or decorate your identity with noise. Your energy speaks for you. Your self-assurance speaks louder than any introduction ever could. Being present isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up fully as yourself, flaws and all, and still believing that you belong. That belief creates an undeniable energy. People can sense it. It's not the outfit you wear, the titles you hold, or the attention you command. It's how secure you are in your own skin. That security becomes magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't feel the need to perform because it gives others permission to do the same. That's a rare kind of influence, the kind that doesn't try too hard yet leaves a lasting impression. Priyanka Chopra is someone who embodies this deeply. She has entered spaces where she wasn't the obvious choice, whether it was in Bollywood, Hollywood, or global platforms. But instead of trying to fit in or prove herself with exaggerated effort, she let her presence do the talking. She didn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. She stood tall in who she was and brought that energy into every room. That's the power of being present. You show up not to seek approval, but to contribute something meaningful. You own your story, and that story speaks volumes, even in silence. Many people fall into the trap of thinking they need to become someone else to gain success or acceptance. But transformation doesn't mean abandoning who you are. Real success begins when you understand that your authenticity is your biggest asset. Your ability to stay grounded and centered in who you are no matter the environment makes you unstoppable. You don't have to be loud to be seen. You don't have to be the center of attention to make an impact. When you carry yourself with quiet strength, your presence becomes your superpower. It's not about taking up space, it's about filling it with intention, clarity, and truth. And once you learn to walk into every room like you already belong there, success begins to follow you naturally. There's something incredibly empowering about letting your actions speak louder than your words. In a culture where everyone feels the need to broadcast their goals, their moves, and even their dreams, there is a quiet kind of strength in simply doing the work and allowing the results to speak for themselves. Quiet confidence is about trusting your process so much that you don't need to constantly explain it to others. It's choosing to stay committed to your growth, even when no one is watching, even when the world seems indifferent, because you know that your time will come, and when it does, it won't need an announcement. People often waste their energy trying to prove themselves to the wrong audiences. They talk about their plans, defend their decisions, or seek validation before they've even taken the first step. But quiet confidence teaches you to be still and focused. It teaches you that real power is not in promising, but in delivering. You don't need to tell the world you're going to do something big. Just do it, and when you do, let the impact be your voice. Let your consistency be your message. Let your success be your reply. Priyanka Chopra's journey mirrors this beautifully. She wasn't the one constantly talking about breaking barriers. She simply did it. She moved from one industry to another, took bold risks, embraced tough roles, and continued to grow without shouting for attention. Her confidence came from her dedication, not from a need for applause, and that's what makes her stand out. She let her work speak. She let her excellence do the talking, and eventually, the world had no choice but to listen. Quiet confidence also requires patience. It means being okay with being unseen for a while, knowing that what you're building in silence will one day echo loudly. It's about having the discipline to stay the course and the humility to not need constant recognition. You trust that the right people will notice at the right time. You believe in divine timing. You know that true recognition is not about moments. It's about legacy. So, instead of wasting energy on proving yourself, put your energy into becoming the best version of yourself. Don't chase attention, chase growth. Don't announce your every move. Let people be stunned by your transformation. When you operate from that place of quiet confidence, your work becomes undeniable, your journey becomes inspiring, and your silence becomes louder than any noise. Resilience is one of the most powerful traits a person can have, but the way you carry it makes all the difference. Quiet confidence transforms resilience into something graceful rather than dramatic. It's not about making a scene every time you bounce back from a setback. It's about rising with dignity, strength, and steady focus. When you carry quiet confidence, you don't panic when life falls apart. You don't rush to explain yourself or justify your struggles. You simply gather yourself, learn what you need to learn, and move forward without fanfare. That's a rare and beautiful kind of strength, and it often gets overlooked because it's not loud or flashy. The truth is, life will test you. It will challenge your dreams, your patience, your identity. And when it does, the people with quiet confidence don't waste time shouting at the storm. They prepare for it. They don't let emotions dictate their decisions. They pause, breathe, and respond with intention. There's no need for drama because their self-worth doesn't depend on circumstances. They know that failure is not the end. It's simply a step in the process. And because their confidence isn't tied to being perfect, they're not crushed when things don't go according to plan. Priyanka Chopra's journey is filled with moments where she could have broken down or lashed out at the world. She faced rejection, criticism, and even moments where she had to start from scratch in unfamiliar territories. But she never allowed the world to see her defeated. She didn't need to broadcast her pain to earn sympathy. She chose to rebuild, redirect, and rise, quietly and powerfully. That's resilience through the lens of quiet confidence. It's the ability to face challenges without losing grace, to endure hardship without bitterness, and to evolve without noise. When you embody quiet confidence, setbacks become setups for greater strength. You stop reacting to every obstacle as a crisis and start seeing them as training grounds. You understand that growth is not always visible. Sometimes your most powerful transformations happen in silence, away from the spotlight. You don't need to announce your comeback. Just make it so strong that it speaks for itself. This kind of resilience doesn't demand attention. It earns respect. And over time, people begin to admire not just what you've achieved, but how you carried yourself through the fire. Quiet confidence gives you the ability to keep going, no matter what life throws at you, because you've already decided that nothing can shake what's rooted deep within you. In a world saturated with noise, competition, and constant comparison, it's easy to feel like you have to speak louder, push harder, and do more just to be noticed. But quiet confidence allows you to step out of that exhausting cycle. It gives you the courage to stay in your own lane, to resist the pressure to keep up with everyone else, and to trust that your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. When you carry quiet confidence, you don't feel the urge to compete with noise. You understand that true success doesn't come from being the loudest. It comes from being the most grounded. So many people waste valuable time comparing themselves to others. They get caught up in what someone else is doing, how far ahead they seem, or how loudly they're being celebrated. But comparison is the thief of joy. Quiet confidence shields you from that trap. It allows you to look inward instead of outward. It helps you realize that you are not behind, you are not less, and you are not invisible. You are on your own timeline, and it's okay if your success looks different or takes longer. When you stop trying to compete with the noise, you find clarity. You're able to hear your own thoughts, follow your own instincts, and walk your journey with purpose. Priyanka Chopra has built a global career without constantly trying to outshine others or fit into a mold. She didn't rush to copy someone else's path. She carved her own. Whether it was in beauty pageants, Bollywood, or Hollywood, she moved with focus, not comparison. She didn't get distracted by how loud others were. She trusted her own rhythm. That's the power of quiet confidence. It keeps you focused on what matters and saves you from wasting energy on things that don't serve your growth. When you're not competing with the noise, you also become a better version of yourself. You're more creative because you're not afraid of doing things differently. You're more peaceful because you're not constantly measuring your worth against others. And most importantly, you're more powerful because you're acting from a place of self-trust rather than insecurity. Quiet confidence teaches you that you don't need to scream to be heard or rush to keep up. You just need to walk in truth, own your uniqueness, and trust that what's meant for you won't miss you. In a world addicted to noise, the one who stays steady, focused, and grounded becomes unforgettable. There's an undeniable power in grace, not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that radiates strength through calm, poise, and quiet assurance. Quiet confidence allows you to move through life with grace, and that grace becomes your greatest form of power. In a world that often rewards aggression, loud personalities, and constant assertion, it's easy to think you need to dominate a space to own it. But the truth is, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be intentional. Grace is what allows you to walk into a room without needing to control it, yet still shift its energy by your very presence. This kind of power doesn't come from arrogance or ego. It comes from a deep knowing. It's the confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove anything because they've already made peace with who they are. They don't react to everything. They don't get rattled by every opinion or setback. They choose composure not because they're weak, but because they understand the strength in self-restraint. Grace allows you to rise without stepping on others, to shine without dimming someone else's light, and to speak without shouting. That's the essence of quiet confidence. It doesn't force, it flows. Priyanka Chopra is a living example of this. Her grace has been consistent throughout her career, whether she was being celebrated or questioned. She has never needed to be the loudest person in the room. Instead, she's carried herself with elegance, clarity, and purpose. She doesn't seek to overpower others. She simply knows who she is and stands firm in that identity. That's what makes her unforgettable. Her power isn't just in what she does, it's in how she does it. When you approach your goals with grace, people notice, not because you're demanding attention, but because your authenticity leaves an impact. You start to build influence in a deeper way through integrity, consistency, and quiet excellence. People begin to trust you, not just for your talent, but for your presence. That's the kind of success that lasts. It's not built on noise, it's built on character. In the end, grace gives you the ability to handle both praise and criticism without losing your balance. It lets you grow without becoming arrogant and stay humble without becoming small. Quiet confidence fueled by grace becomes a force that can't be ignored, and in a chaotic world, it's often the most graceful people who leave the boldest mark. Thank you.